Hi there Star Wars collectors, and welcome to another Bossk Bounty video, and welcome to episode 157 of our Bossk Bounty. This is the weekly Q&A series where I take your questions from the comment section below. It drops every Sunday, even on the Sunday that England are playing Senegal in the World Cup. Still managing to get this video out. So if you do want your question answered in next week's episode, please leave your question in the comment section below and hopefully you'll be featured. And also, if you happen to enjoy this video, don't forget to drop a like down below because that really does help the video and the channel. All that being said, let's just get straight on to the first question. Chris Rook says, "Hey BB, got a question for you. If Hasbro was ever to do a Death Star playset, what areas do you think would be the most essential? I.e. the throne room, trash compactor, control room, etc." Now this is a great question because it's quite timely that the Death Star playset was an idea for a HasLab project. On last week's episode I asked you guys to fill out a poll for the most wanted HasLabs, and I put that video out in the week. So if you haven't watched that video already, check it out after this video just to see what results. And one of them was the Death Star playset that you guys wanted, and I've always said about the Death Star playset, it does kind of worry me in terms of how Hasbro would actually execute that. And it's for the exact reasons that you've just suggested there. What would they centre that playset on? Would it be the throne room? Would it be the trash compactor? Would it be the control room? I think those three that you've mentioned there are definitely the three sort of ones that I would want the most out of a Death Star playset. You could also maybe talk about the briefing room with Mr. Grand Moff Tarkin and what have you. Hasbro have brought out a sort of battle pack or playset for that before in the Saga collection. Obviously that's very outdated these days, but of course for the briefing room we don't really have enough of the characters anyway. I know that they're going to be doing some more officers because they are going to be doing Admiral Piet, which means that they do have that new sculpt. So essentially they can use that for some of those, General Targ, for example, that's in the briefing room. So yeah, apart from the briefing room, I think you've probably hit the nail on the head with those three suggestions. Logan W says, "Hi Tim, question for next week. Besides the regular Stormtrooper, what is your favourite Imperial Trooper type? Mine is definitely the Biker Scout. I have a feeling that yours might be the Snow Trooper." So I've put all three of them in front of you here, and I'm with you, my friend. For me, it's the Biker Scout. I was 6 years old when Return of the Jedi came out, and it's the film that I most remember watching when I was a kid. And man, the Biker Scouts, when I first saw those on the screen and the speeder bikes that went with them, wow, they look super, super cool. You're right, I do love the Imperial Stormtrooper in his Hoth battle gear. I absolutely love that figure as well. And by the way, when I'm looking at these two figures, I could really do with upgrading these two. Yeah, I think I can get better examples of these two for my collection. The paint doesn't seem to be too great on his eyes there, but yeah, for me it's the Biker Scout, my friend. Return of the Jedi, I think they're awesome, and I've got the Stormtrooper there to round out the three. But all three are great designs, man. Awesome, awesome designs. Cadillac Avenger says, "Hi Boss Bounty, quite a newbie to the vintage collection and really getting into it. Love your videos and so many of my questions have already been answered." Awesome, that's good. "I know there are reissues of the vintage collection range sporadically appearing, but they seem to be restricted to the anniversaries of the films. Do you know why we don't get reissues of the main popular characters' figures, which are bound to sell? My wishlist figures I'd like to see are the Imperial Commander from the original trilogy, who I think was based on General Veers or Admiral Piet." So the the Imperial Commander, yeah, absolutely. Well, as I say, we are getting Admiral Piet, a new Admiral Piet. So General Veers is definitely one I think a lot of people would like as well, using that new body. In terms of the reissues, I'm not too sure how far you're going back looking at these reissues, because essentially they did start off by offering, the main characters. I think the first wave was Vader, Han Solo, Leia from Hoth, and I think maybe Luke Skywalker in his Jedi Knight outfit. And then since then they've done Lando General, another Han Solo, another Luke Hoth. In fact, I think they've done pretty much the main characters quite often. I think maybe what you're thinking of is because the most recent one that's been announced is based on Return of the Jedi and they're all the Jabba's goons, and they are definitely for the anniversary. And then maybe previously we had like ones from the Phantom Menace or the prequel trilogy in general. That might have been because it was the anniversary of Attack of the Clones or something, but I'm not too sure if Hasbro really thinks about that. I had an interview with Patrick at the MCM Comic Con in London about a month ago now. That interview is on the channel, and basically he even said then that they're going to be going back to doing the main characters after the Return of the Jedi. And he even mentioned like Vader's and Luke's and things like that. So I'm sure we can sort of expect those in the future, but definitely the next one, you know, is all to do with Return of the Jedi and the 40th anniversary. Spy Guy says, great video, Bossk. I love watching your videos and they are very helpful and entertaining. Question for next week. Do you think it could be a possibility to get the Imperial Speeder we see in the Andor season finale? I love the design of the vehicle and it's not very large vehicle to make. Man, that finale was just incredible. The music for the funeral procession was, oh, it was just so good, so good. And I think I know which speeder you're talking about. It's the one with the stormtrooper on the back with the heavy cannon, isn't it? I think that speeder would be pretty good. As you say, not too big for Hasbro to make, so maybe it will be something that we see in the future. New vehicles do worry me though, in terms of like the tooling costs and everything. We don't really seem to be getting too many of those recently, do we? But as you say, that is quite small. And I think that's a pretty cool one, because obviously we've got the figures. And maybe they could pack in that sort of Imperial officer with the black sort of coat thing that he throws over B2 Emo. He would be cool. I know they're getting a version of him in the Black Series, but I think they're getting the one with the moustache from a flashback with the clone troopers. Whereas that's the one you want, the one from the finale. The one that sort of panics and everything. He's the guy that you want for a figure. Cisco Deer says, hey Boss, question for next week. Is it just me or have the card backs for the vintage collection been enlarged? Thanks. I don't know about enlarged. They are exactly, you know, the same sort of size, but they definitely have been made thicker, which was something that the whole community wanted them to do. They are no longer those sort of horrible bendy cards. They are of a thicker cardstock, which is a good thing. Steve Reno says, hey Tim, I always look forward to kicking back in the recliner on a Sunday and firing up the latest episode of Boss Bounty. Thank you, my friend. Keep them coming, buddy. Question for next week. For figures with clothing designs that hang over the hips, would you rather Hasbro come up with a higher quality soft goods element or come up with a thinner, flexible but durable rubber sculpted piece? For that, take care. For me, it has to be a thinner, more flexible and durable rubber or plastic piece, because I'm going to take this Tarkin and show you now. You know, to me, it just looks like he's got a skirt on. Now, the way they've designed that there with the soft goods is purely, you know, so you can sit Tarkin down, basically. If he had a plastic there, it would sort of ruin the articulation. But I think with some of the more modern figures, if I think about the Armourer, for example, her sort of little skirt thing, that's quite durable. You can still pose her quite well. I'm sure there's been some others as well. Moff Gideon, perhaps. Maybe his doesn't come down as long, but you know, I think they can definitely come up with something that's better than that. Guillermo Cadero says, hey Bossk, I just subscribed. Thank you so much, my friend. That's I really appreciate that. I'm not sure if I'm late or not to ask a question, but do you think they'll re-release the TVC Gamorrean Guard? Yeah, I've had this question a couple of times, my friend, and I really hope they do. But with all the signs of, you know, the Jabba's goons that we're getting have already been sort of revealed. We're getting Wee Quay as well in one of the waves. They have already re-released the Gamorrean Guard back in, what, 2019 or whatever. Whenever they did the Jabba's Palace and the Sail Barge, they re-released him then. So I'm not too sure if they would release him again, but man, it's such a great figure, isn't it? And I would love for them to re-release it again. I'm sure it would sell. I'm sure a lot of people would like lots more of these in their collections. And of course, even the reissue of that figure is now expensive on the secondary market, so there is a demand for it. Magic Book of Horror says, question for next week. How do you feel about the Hasbro Pulse Selfie Series, and do you wish you could get a Selfie Series of action figures in the vintage collection? I've got to say, my friend, I think the Selfie Series is terrible. All of the ones that I've seen don't look anything like the people that they're supposed to be like, which is a bit of a shame. I think they need to improve it. And if they were to make it even smaller, then it would be even harder. So no, I definitely do not want that in the vintage collection. And in fact, I wish like all the whole sort of gimmicky type things would not be in the vintage collection, like carbonized and things like that. I don't think it's necessary. I think they can do like repacks in a better way, or repaints. They don't have to be sort of glitzy, shiny and all that kind of stuff. Wyvern says, hi Bossk, I'm a new subscriber to your channel and enjoying your videos. Thank you, Wyvern, and welcome to the channel. Question for next week. Why don't all TVC figures come with ball jointed hips and super articulation? I'm really hoping for some better Rebel soldiers, like new versions of Commandos for the 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi. Currently all rebels are swivel hips. I want something to compare to stormtroopers. Yeah, don't we all, my friend, don't we all? Unfortunately, you know, I think it's just a fact of life that when Hasbro revisit figures such as this guy and do a 4-pack of this guy, they're not going to really update the figure too much. They've given them new heads and everything, but in terms of the swivel hips, we're kind of stuck with that with him. And I think if they are to do a Rebel Commando like the Andor version, then I think we'll probably be stuck with the one that we have, albeit updated with new heads and things like that, and different backpacks or something. I don't know, maybe different coats. I think that's what they'll do, which is a bit of a shame, I know, but that's just essentially what it is. The newer figures seem to have the ball jointed hips and all the new articulation like rocker ankles and all that kind of stuff, but whenever they revisit a figure from 10 years ago or whatever, it keeps that articulation, unfortunately. Riley Bob says, next TVC HasLab should be a Sandcrawler for sure, then we can get our Jawa Trooper packs. Question for next week, concerning the finishing the 96 and releasing an update, redeemed Anakin or Old Man Anakin, do you think they would use a face sculpt of the OG actor or the updated Hayden Christensen for the release? As always, keep up the great work, cheers. Well, to be honest, mate, I really do think they should include both. We need the Sebastian Shaw version, and then as a separate head, they could have the Anakin version. Essentially, that figures, it doesn't need lots of accessories or anything like that, so I've got no reason why they couldn't do that. C3PO Concept says, what's up, sir? Great video. I started building a SWTVC top 25 wish list, and man, it's tough. Have you started making your 2023 list yet? I have made a start. I'm not too far with it, but man, I cannot wait for the SWTVC bracket next year, March Madness and what have you. I'm already thinking about all the content that I'm going to be making around it. We're going to do live streams like we did last year, but we're going to do more of them. There's going to be more conversation around it. You know, more sort of videos on the process of picking my 25 and that kind of stuff. So I'm going to go all in on it next year. It starts early January when they start taking the submissions for your top 25, which is how they collate the information to make the bracket of, what, 64 characters, I think it is. But I'm really excited already for it, man. I love it. It's a great thing to do in the community. Pesto Pizza 2001 says, hello BB, question for this Sunday. After your comment about an educated guess of TVC ending in 2025, maybe, in a strange way, are you looking forward to it ending and being completed? Myself, I like to complete collections apart from the nostalgia. That's why I love Kenner Collection so much, because it can be completed. I completely understand what you're getting at there, but no, I don't want it to end. Not just because from a selfish point of view, because of my channel and everything, but you know, it's my hobby. I love collecting the vintage collection. It does have that nostalgic value for me, and also the community around it as well. I've made some very good friends over the years from doing these videos, because we share the same hobby basically, and I wouldn't want that to end, you know. So no, I don't want it to end, but I do understand what you're saying about wanting to sort of, you know, finish it at maybe number 500 or something, and you know, you've just got them all then and there's nothing else to get. I completely understand that, but I'm not too sure if we'll ever get to 500, by the way. I'll just pick that number out the air. Alfred Pednu says, what are the odds that we get a super rare action figure in the next boxed board game? I'm not too sure if it's going to be in a boxed board game necessarily, but I do think we are going to be, or I know we are going to be getting a like exclusive new figure that's, you know, a bit like when they did Tarkin and the Snow Speeder Luke in the retro collection. I think there is going to be another one for the Return of the Jedi. I'm not going to say which character it is, but I don't know how they're going to package that up or anything like that. No news on that yet, but yeah, I think there's going to be a figure, that's for sure. Andrew Cook says, hey boss, started watching your channel during the pandemic and have been loving it ever since. Thank you so much, Andrew. Appreciate that, buddy. Question for next week. If the new speeder bike coming out is successful enough, do you think it could be the start of a small vehicle expression for TVC that could give us other speeder bikes like Cobb Vance, the ATRT, or even an Ewok glider with one of the original 96 Ewoks we're missing packed in? All great ideas, by the way, those. I certainly hope so. I mean, I've got this here because what you're going to find is when that new speeder bike comes out, you're going to find that it's not too dissimilar to this one. There are some subtle changes. They're saying that it's all newly tooled and everything, which I believe them, but it is very, very similar to this one. You know, they have changed a few things about it though. And they're not going to sort of stop there with that speeder bike. I'm, you know, pretty sure that they're going to be doing the white version for the Mandalorian. They're not going to waste that new tooling on just one. So hopefully they make their money back on it, and hopefully it does sort of spur them into thinking that, you know, the community does want these smaller vehicles, because you're right, the AT-RT would be awesome. Cobb Vanth Speeder, the Mandalorian Speeder, the Ewok Glider as you mentioned there, the Speeder from Andor from one of the previous questions in this video, you know, all that kind of stuff would be awesome for world building in the vintage collection. So hopefully, you know, I'm sure everybody that's into the vintage collection is going to want one of those speeder bikes. Hopefully it's sold well. And of course, as I say, no doubt they'll make the Mandalorian version. They'll be silly not to. And we'll have to see how that one goes as well. Rob S722 says, hi BB, always enjoy the content. My question is, how long do you think it will take them to finish the 96? It would be awesome to have the 96 finished sooner rather than later. Keep up the great work. Unfortunately, Rob, I'm not even sure if they will ever finish it in time for any of us to still be alive. There's just certain figures in that run of the original 96 that I just can't see them ever doing. And that's a shame. I've got no doubt that they will try and get as many of them out as they possibly can. I just don't think we'll see all of them, basically. You know, I don't think we'll truly ever finish the 96. Hopefully we'll get, you know, the ones that we need, like the Rancor Keeper and things like that for our Jabba's Palaces that we're going to be getting soon. So it's that sort of thing, isn't it? It's like the figures that are obvious ones for things that we've already got that go hand in hand with other things. That's the ones where I think that they'll do. Ugnaughts, things like that. But in terms of finishing it, yeah, unfortunately, I don't think they will. All right then, guys, that's it for this video. Slightly shorter episode this week because, as I said, we do have England versus Senegal to look forward to later that I'm going to be watching. And then after that as well, I have a Patreon and channel member exclusive live stream where we're going to be having some fun talking about Andor and new figures and doing a bit of a giveaway as well. So if you are interested in becoming a Patreon supporter or channel member and you want access to things like that, access to the private Discord, access to early videos, all that kind of stuff, the links are in the description below, and it just helps support the channel. Thank you so much for watching. If you do have a question for next week's episode, make sure you leave it in the comment section below. So thank you so much for that. We'll keep this series going. Thank you for watching, everybody, and we shall see you on the next one.